Hey, Alex, a lawyer and a financial advisor walk into a bar.
Well, and then what happens, Dave?
Well, a question comes up. He's returning to the office. What are your people kind of saying?
That's a good question. So that's a big issue at the moment, pretty much for everyone. Everyone getting people out of the office was a big issue, and now people are coming back. And that seems to be an issue. It's really interesting. You generally hear that people don't want to go back to the office, and managers are wanting them back in. And a push and pull between the employees who don't want to go back and the managers who want them in. That's the general gist. But we've been interviewing people recently, and we're always interviewing people. And we found that most of the people we spoke to have said actually they would prefer to work from the office at least most of the time. Maybe not every day, but like 3 or 4 days they'd prefer.
But is that an age group, do you reckon, or is that across the board?
Yeah. So most of the people we're interviewing are, I guess, they're in their 40s or more. So yeah, maybe it is an age thing. Maybe younger people want to work from home. I thought maybe people are just jack of working from home.
I'm hearing the same thing. People are saying, no, I like to work, but I want to do, maybe anywhere between 2 and 4 days in the office. I might do 1 from home, but I don't want to be full-time at home, and I don't want to be full-time in the office. I mean, you're seeing that on traffic when you come in and out of the city the whole time. But I do think it's a combination. I think it depends upon people's living circumstances, as if they're in a smaller apartment or a house, or there's kids around and there's other bits and pieces. I mean, I must admit for myself, it was okay working from home, but I wouldn't want to be doing that full time because I like the divide between the two. And if I was working from home, you can see a lot of these properties where people have got an old shed or, a garage or something that they've then converted into an office that is either maybe connected to the house or it's separate. Yeah. But it's very much they go into that and then they come back out. I mean, I've heard stories where people, they'll walk out their front door, they'll do a lap around the block. Yes. And then they'll go into their office and they're like, and it's the same when they come back home. They go for a walk around the block as though they've gone to, out of the house and off the property and then come back in. It's a mental game for them.
Yeah, well, that was my plan during COVID when I was working from home full time. That was my plan, to walk around the block. And you know how many times I did it?
Yeah, zero.
Yeah, that's right. And, I've had now light a candle or, close the doors and whatever. There's all sorts of things to try and do this. And I believe, separating work and home is important, or the work you from home you. But I find all of those things a bit silly. You just end up getting straight into it. But I think I can see how a lot of it is dependent on your home situation, your kids, your family, your house set up, whatever it is.
But there's been a lot in the media lately. I know some of the unions are pushing for this with their enterprise bargaining agreement. Yes. I know it's like CBA and some of the major investment banks and big organisations. And again, there's a lot of people are starting to question that says, so you don't have to come in, but if you're not coming in every day, why would we pay you, your increase may not be there because you're not spending any money on commuting. And like an interesting argument, it's like if someone's getting the job done and they're doing what needs to be done, but I do think it's this real challenge between getting the culture. And for some people, they've never had to work from home because they operate in a business that they've had to go into a workshop or a factory or, it's somewhere that's out and about already on the road. And there's this... mix between, well, they can do it, and are people being as productive? You've got to be able to measure it. But I do think a lot of it is that social aspect. I think a lot of people are starting to, how's the city? You go into the city on a weekend, the joint's packed.
People are out and about. And certainly
Thursday night's busy.
Yeah. Thursday in the city is the Thursday night's the new Friday night. That's what people tell me.
Yeah, like it's really interesting how that sort of has changed. But I'm hearing more people saying I'm trying to get the balance.
Yes. Yeah, that's tough for employers because I think, like a lot of our clients, there is no work from home. They run businesses that you can't work from home, right? Yep. So this is all very interesting for you, white collar Muppets. But the reality is we run a factory, we run a warehouse, we run whatever. Everyone's coming in as soon as they possibly can after COVID, and that's just the way it is for virtually their entire staff. So it is only certain employees who this is an issue for. But for those ones, it's interesting that everyone seems to have, even their sense of balance is different. You know, someone might go, I want to work from home once a week, and the others might go, I want to work from home 4 days a week. And I think it's pretty tough for employers, because now employers are saying, well, now this is just another bloody thing I've got to manage. You know,
but it's also the infrastructure.
Yeah, well, do you have a whole office that's got full of desks for everyone, or do you just have 80% of the desks or 70% of the desks, and then everyone hot desks, or how does that all work?
But then, does everyone then get a laptop?
Yeah.
As opposed to a desktop, and then do you want them to be in a position where they're turning around and saying, "Well, I want to have 2 screens and not 1 big screen"? So therefore, do you need to provide that at home and at the office, and then the chair, and then it's the occupational health and safety? Like, it's a really look. My personal view is I don't think we'll ever go back to certain areas from an office point of view to a full time at the office. Some people will, because they kind of like the social aspect. But what it also does to me is it opens it up, and I think some people are recognising that, oh, well, if I can do your job and you actually don't physically have to come into the office, then my scope of accessing an individual to do that job is not just in the city. I can go internationally.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Or you know, interstate at least, but you could certainly go international. People be living in Bali and working from working remotely.
Correct.
We had someone who basically lived in Tasmania during COVID and worked for us in Melbourne, no problem at all, you know. And it was the same as if they were in Melbourne. It made no difference whether they were logging in from Hobart or logging in from
Correct.
South Yarra in Melbourne, you know.
So it's interesting how some people are. You know, I just think there's this real balance, and especially when you're dealing with say you're in an accounting or a legal firm, talking to some of the partners in that, they're saying, well, I want to see people in the office because something pops up.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, Alex, you're here. Oh, do you want to come with me? We're just going to talk to there's an opportunity with a client.
There's a lot of just on the phone. Yeah, something pops up, so you tell someone about it when you're not going to ring them to tell them. So there's a lot of better communication. Yeah, I see there's a lot. I mean, we do a lot of work remotely, and I think there's advantages to that. But there's real advantages to everyone being in the office, or depending on the layout of your office, that being in the same area can really help.
Yeah, I heard a guy write the other day. He was talking about it, saying that when everyone's in the office, I can walk down and we can talk about something and get it done. But he said with everyone remote, all of a sudden I've got to. I mean, they might say I can see that they're, on some chat channel that they're on, or they're not available.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know that they haven't turned that off because they don't want to be disturbed, or
they're
not even there.
Yeah,
and he was just making the point that sometimes then you've almost got to set up a time to schedule the time to discuss this issue with the person that sometimes could be literally a 5-minute conversation walking down the hallway. Yeah. So it's a real, I just think it's going to be one of these things that will evolve over the next period of time. But more and more people are, I think, enjoying coming back in to the business than always working from home.
Because I've told a few people that, no, I'm a bit surprised that we're finding people wanting to come back in, but we're finding people like, previously, we thought if we offered work from home, that would be a plus, that people, generally, whether it's admin staff or legal staff or whatever, would all say that's a plus, that's a tick for, that's going to make you an attractive workplace. And now we're finding that if we say, oh, well, you can work from home 100%, they go, oh, I don't want to do that. I want to come in the office 4 days a week. And
I think part of it's a change of scenery for people too. Yeah. They kind of get sick of it.
Yeah, but there's also, people who live miles from the city and are trucking in every day, you might save them an hour and a half, 2 hours more a day, right? And I know it's great to, have some incidental chats around the office and whatever, but, in exchange for 2 hours of your day, you might go, oh, stuff it. You know what I mean? It's a pros and cons thing. You've got to kind of balance it.
I think it also goes back to the role. Like there's some roles that it's just pure administrative.
Yeah.
And really, I agree with you. Some people are schlepping in an hour to 2 hours every day to come in to sit at a desk to do a job that wouldn't really matter where they were.
Right, yeah, you're answering emails or whatever, directing calls or whatever it is that you're doing that you could do anywhere. And you don't need chit-chat with your colleagues, depending on what you're doing.
Well, if it's a call centre environment, why do they need to come into the office?
Yeah. So, so you can kind of weigh all of those things up. there's also legal changes as things with EBAs. It's going to be introduced that people, I think, if the employee is asking for flexible working, there's an obligation that that the employer considers it. Now, you don't have to agree to it, but you have to consider it in the same way you would if somebody asks for other kinds of flexible working arrangements.
Yeah, right.
Or staff or full time or whatever it is. There is a move towards it being you being obliged to consider those kind of requests.
But if they do that, will that be that?
Yep.
That because I know there's been that discussion a lot with. I think it's a financial services union or something like that. And the CBA, and they're sort of saying, well, we really want to see people in 3 days a week, out of 5, but they're not specifying then the days. So then it becomes an issue that then says, well, I've got X amount, no one's in on Monday, I've got half in on Tuesday, I've got the other half in on Wednesday. Like, can you then, in some of those legal agreements, specify the days of a week that they're expecting people to be in the office as a minimum?
In terms of if there's an EBA, then what the EBA says is what you're stuck with, and if it doesn't say, then you can specify yourself. But it would be a case by case. Generally, the legal obligation would be to listen to a request from an employee and consider it. But then you'd be able to decide, okay, it's only Fridays you're allowed to take off, or you must work on Fridays or whatever it is.
Yeah,
you need operational reasons for that. So you need to basically just come up with a sensible plan based on the needs of the business, considering the requirements and the wants of your staff, which I think is what any sensible business owner would do anyway. You don't want to...
Yeah, well, especially with the shortage of staff that's out there, it's like, jeepers, I really need to hang on to people.
Yeah, it's perfectly reasonable to say, look, I don't want to have nobody working on Monday or Friday and everybody in the office on Wednesday, and it's just absolutely packed and it's mayhem. So it's reasonable to have, I'm seeing people that we've just introduced this, having what they call an anchor day, which is a day where where it might be, say, 2 days a week, it might be Tuesdays and Thursdays, where everyone has to be in, so that everyone sees each other and whatever. And then you might have different teams in the office have decided we're all going to work Fridays in X team, and the other team are all going to work Mondays or whatever, and the managers kind of work all that out. So that seems like a pretty sensible way forward to me. Then you get to see everyone sometimes, and you get to see your whole team more often. Maybe you still get 1 or 2 days at home.
So what are you guys doing now?
So we were fully remote for a while, and now we've gone to one anchor day a week. So on a Thursday we're all in, and we work from the office that day. And I think we'll probably move to 2 anchor days. And we're finding generally we're driven by what the team wants to do, and what the clients want. The clients don't care what we do. So the team generally want to work a little bit more in the office than they are, but they want to work sort of 2 or 3 days in the office.
But have they given you has like from that perspective, because we've kind of always been flexible. Like now, sometimes there's no our driver is, if there's a client meeting and both people are required, then kind of come in. But outside of that, if there's no face-to-face sort of work that day, it doesn't really faze people. I mean, I'm in every day, but some of the other guys are not. But what are your guys saying that's really driving them to want to increase their days back in the office?
Yeah, I think that's missed the social interaction. The being part of, there's a kind of a buzz in the city, being part of that. I think being at home, they're sort of lonely, if you like. When I talk to them, they say, "Look, I just want to hang out with." They like the people they work with. They want to hang out. There's an aspect, I think, particularly of more junior people of training. They sort of feel like they want to be around more senior people to learn. Which, I mean, I think that's a wonderful thing, right? When I was, I did not want to be around the partners at all because I was frightened of them, right? And so I hope that that's a good thing for our culture, that people actually go, "No, I want to come in the office and see you guys and learn from you." That's good. So it's really driven by that, and I think it is a bit tough on the junior people. I think a senior person can work from home in the law anyway. Okay, because you're talking to clients, you're doing your own thing. You don't need anyone else's assistance for a lot of what you do. But when you're more junior, you need to be brought to meetings, and you need to be overhearing people and all that sort of stuff. So I think probably
because that's the getting the circumstances. I mean, you learn over the years. Yeah. Oh, I've seen that before, but some of the junior people, they're always going to be like, "Oh, I hadn't seen that one."
Yeah, and nobody rang me to tell me about it, but you might have overheard it, or
correct.
working in the corridor, all that stuff. So I think
Yeah.
it is driven by the team, and probably we've now all had an extended period working from home, so we're probably a bit over it,
Yeah.
But it also is driven by how far people live from the office, right? I
Yep.
mean, the further they are away, the less likely they are to want to return.
So are you then going to be more days in the office than just a Thursday?
Yeah. I'll go into the office probably a couple of days a week. I'm in the city, like I go into meetings and I'm in the city, probably every couple of days. So it's quite common for me to be in there. But it would be odd for me to be in the office from 9 to 5, like a full day. I might go in one morning, have a meeting, go to the office to work for a couple of hours, have another meeting, and then go home and work, whatever it is. And I think that's what a lot of us will do. They're all in the office this morning, and the one was in class and one was in client meeting, and
right.
So they're sort of all going around doing, and that's pretty normal for kind of our business. But it's a question of really when you finish at court, do you go home or do you go back to the office?
Yeah. That's always the challenge. Like, but then when they go home, will they do the work that they would normally if they come back to the office? And
productivity. People when they're at home actually are more productive than ever. That's what we found. Because I think less distractions. In the office, there's actually a lot of distractions.
Yeah. And I think for some people, they've almost got to retrain themselves to have the discipline to either, like I've heard stories of people they have, if they're in the cubicles or in certain areas in the open plan, because so much office space is open plan, that they have, a flag or some sort of indicator on their terminal or where they are that says, don't come and talk to me. I'm actually, I'm very focused on what I'm trying to do. I'm not open to the office banter.
Yeah, I mean, I found for years I could only get any work done early morning and late evening because, you get interrupted by people who need your help or want your help or want to chit chat or whatever. And especially if you're in an open plan office, it's sort of hard to get away from it. Even if you're inside an office, unless you shut your door and you're sort of mean about it, people just wander in.
Yeah. Well, that's why you see people sit there and they have their headphones on, not connected to anything, but they've just got them in because people know they won't come and annoy them.
Yeah. So I
do that to the kids sometimes.
Yeah.
Because they do it to me all the time.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, return to office. I think it's something that just each business will need to manage based on their own kind of operational requirements and the requirements of their staff. But that's what I just think it is a bit tough on managers because it's just another thing for them to work out. But I guess that's the price you pay for managing business, right?
Yeah. And I do. And I just think it will evolve and it's a business by business. And, sometimes it comes back to the skill set that you're looking for as well. Like sometimes it doesn't really matter where the individual's coming from.
Yeah, but in interesting world that you're going to kind of now have people, some from home, some from the office every day, some a bit of both, some working from, Queensland, some working, some maybe in Bali, whatever it is. It's sort of wonderful. To have that flexibility and to be, to be able to hopefully live, a better life as a result of it rather than.
Yeah, and also if you're on video, it doesn't matter that you hear the dog or something in the background or someone happens to walk past. People have got over that. They're like, look, I do as best as I can. I've got a filter there, but you know what? It's just the way it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, all good.
Yeah.
All right, Alex. Well, thank you once again. So we'll close out our conversation today. I would like to thank Alex from Taurus Legal Management.
Yeah.
He can be contacted via LinkedIn at Alex Martin or via the website tauruslawyers.com.au.
Thanks, Dave. And I'd like to thank David Murdoch, the wealth activist from Paxton Bridge. And you can contact him at David Murdoch at LinkedIn or at paxtonbridge.com.
Perfect. Cheers. Thank you. And we will catch you on the next episode.
See you next time.